Hello, everyone. This week, what I wanted to talk about is the upcoming event at Fort Ticonderoga. It's a wonderful opportunity if you've never had the opportunity to take a photo of reenactors in action. So just a few primers about what to expect. First of all, make sure that you have water. It is an open area. There's lots of sun, and it will be a couple miles of walking to capture everything. So you want to make sure that you stay hydrated. There is a cafe there that I recommend. It's a wonderful little place, but if there's so many things going on and you're running from one to the next, make sure that you've got something with you to keep yourself hydrated. That said, as you drive into the fort, there will be a couple of encampments that you pass on the way in. Better not to stop on the road at that point and to come back to them afterwards, because the road's not that wide. In addition to that, there is a 3 recreated huts that are present off to the side, down the road on the left-hand side. So if you want to get an idea of what construction looked like at the time, you can get some photographs of that. Across the street from that is a redoubt. Now, the redoubt is a fortified area that uses wood and dirt to protect the soldiers who are in that redoubt. In addition to that, you've got the fort itself, the oxen that help out with the fort. So within the fort itself, you're going to see several areas where people are doing things that would have been normal at the time. For example, you might see them making shoes. You might see them making food. So you have those pieces. When the battles occur, there will be a couple of areas, and it will be fairly fast moving as they fire at each other and move their lines one way or the other, depending on who's winning, obviously. And it depends on which day you go. There will be one day, I believe it's going to be down by the docks, and another day that it's out in the forest area. So the forest area will give you probably a good amount of shade, but the docks area is going to be iffy. So if you're going up on that day, make sure that you have extra water, because a good part of the battle is going to be in the sun. Again, you're going to have encampments possibly by the hut. There'll be another encampment. There was last year. Now, when you go to the encampment, it's not a bunch of people just pitched in tents. These are people who are still in character. They're wearing garb appropriate for the period. They're using utensils appropriate for the period. They're using tents appropriate for the period. And they have taken a lot of care to make sure that the stuff that they have on is period appropriate, and that what they're doing is period appropriate. So while this is a encampment, remember to respect them, because they're actually living there. So while it's great to go see what they've got, don't just pop into tents and things, for example. They will be getting ready for things. So stick to the areas where people are out eating or are getting prepared by doing drills and things. You can get pictures of the tents, obviously, but try to respect people when they're getting in and out of their tents. That said, again, the battles will be fast moving, and there will be a crowd of people there. So you need to work your way around them and not get in the way of the reenactors, obviously. Pay attention to the safety lines and the areas that they tell you not to cross. That's for your safety. So you have the fort and what's going on. You have the reenactor encampments. You have the reenactments itself, the battles, for 2 days. And they'll be different on the 2 days. So I recommend that you go for both days. The tickets are now, if you buy a ticket for Saturday, you can come back Sunday for free. And This will allow you to be able to take everything in and not be so frustrated or so anxious about trying to get everything. You can break down, for example, the encampments. You can break those down over a couple of days. You can break down what's going on inside the fort over a couple of days because you have those 2 days to work with. And then you can concentrate on the battles, which I think start around 12:30 and move down into the afternoon. Now, the fort opens by at least 10. I think it's 9:30 now that we're in the summer. So you want to get there early, get a good place to park, and then you can just leisurely walk around and see what angles you want to have for the different photographs. Again, there will be a lot of people there, so you're going to have to contend with the crowds when you're trying to get shots. And you want to make sure that you, again, respect the privacy of those in the encampments as they go about their normal, what would have been normal daily routines for that period of time. Again, the huts will show you a great example of what construction would have looked like for barracks for the soldiers. The fort itself could only hold 400 people. Therefore, they needed to have more structures to house everybody else. And that's what these huts will show you. In addition, you've got the redoubt, and you can see how they would have structured their defenses when they were in the field to protect against invaders coming in. The fort itself, you get a good view of what life was like at the fort. There is an officer's barracks, which is off to, as you come through the archway into the fort, that's going to be to your left side. The Mars Education Center, which has air conditioning and water fountains, is on the right-hand side as you come in. And the area over the archway would have been normal barracks, but is currently some barracks-like structures at the bottom, and it's the museum. So there's a lot of things to do and see at the fort. So plan your days out. Again, like I said, over a couple of days, because that way you can leisurely walk from point to point. And if you want to take a break from all the military history, there is the beautiful Fort Ticonderoga Pell Garden down by the pavilion. And you can go down to the garden there and see all the flowers that they've got that are wonderfully tended by the gardeners at the fort. And next to that, outside of this little walled garden, is the area where they would have grown their crops. And it is delineated out because they also would have made sure that they had flowers and things there as well to bring in the bees to help pollinate all of the crops that they were growing. So you can get a feel for what that area would have been like. Now, it's on a smaller scale, obviously, than if they had a full complement of people at the fort. But you can go there and take a look. And some of that garden actually ends up in the cafe in your lunch meals. So there's a lot to see at the fort this weekend. I would recommend that you take a look at some Google or Bing map overhead views of them. And Fort Ticonderoga does have a YouTube channel. If you go there, you can get a feel for what the fort will look like inside and where things are positioned. So the parking lot is next to the log house, which is the cafe and the gift shop. It's a little bit of a walk to the fort itself. It's not very far. And the log house is the entrance to get into the fort. So you can get an idea for the flow of where people are going to be and how they're going to go through. Now, obviously, if we're leaving the fort to go to an event and they have the fife and drum corps bringing you to the event, they're going to throw open a gate there that allows you to easily walk through so you don't have a bottleneck. But get a feel for where everything is, get a feel for where the garden is. There are benches that you can sit at if you need to take a break, and make sure you have water. If you bring a pet with you, there are usually bowls of water out and available for your pet to get a drink as well. So that's what I got for you guys this week. If you're going up to the fort, I hope you enjoy the fort, and I hope to see you there.